A case of lump in the breast. This case presentation is the fifth in the series of cassette clinics of general surgery prepared by Dr. Ghanashyam Vaidya from Karnataka Health Institute Ghataprabha, an ex-student of Seth GS Medical College and the KEM Hospital, Mumbai. A 50-year-old Hindu female housewife, Shantibai, staying in Parel, comes with complaints of a lump in the right breast since 3 months. The patient was apparently alright 3 months back when she first noticed a small lump in her right breast without any other symptoms. It has gradually increased in size since then. Is that significant? Sir, a painless growing lump in the breast at this age, 50 years, is very suggestive of malignancy. And if it was not growing, say, constant in size for 1 or 2 years, still I would keep malignancy in mind with the slow-growing atrophic serous carcinoma as the first differential diagnosis. Because benign swellings like fibroadenoma or fibroadenosis do not usually appear de novo after menopause. How does age affect the appearance of breast swellings? Sir, fibroadenoma and fibroadenosis occur only during the childbearing age. The hard fibroadenomas occur in a younger age group of 20 to 30 years and soft fibroadenomas slightly later, that is 35 to 45 years. Fibroadenosis is common towards menopause and menarche. Carcinoma may occur at any age but with increasing frequency after 40 years age. Yes, go ahead. It has gradually increased in size over the last 3 months. It does not shift its position within the breast. Which swelling does that? A hard fibroadenoma. Yes, and it has got a special name. A breast mouse, sir. Right. No history of pain before menstruation, which is characteristic of fibroadenosis, sir. No history of blood or purulent discharge through the nipple. What are the types of nipple discharges that you can get and what are their causes? Sir, clear watery discharge in fibroadenosis and duct papilloma, milky discharge in lactation, non-puerperal galactorrhea, galactocele and mammary duct ectasia, blood-stained discharge in duct papilloma and duct carcinoma, fresh blood in carcinoma and dark altered blood in duct papilloma. Why so? Because in duct papilloma, due to obstruction in the duct, the blood remains pent up in the duct for a varying period and becomes black. Purulent discharge is seen in acute mastitis or a chronic abscess with duct ectasia. Regarding complications, there is no history of fever, pain and pus, no history of ulceration over the swelling or recent changes in the nipple, no history of recent weight loss, swellings in the axilla or neck, no history of pain in the shoulder or back or abdominal lump. To rule out, I was asking history suggestive of malignancy or metastasis. No history of swelling in the opposite breast. Which swellings are seen in both breasts? Sir, fibroadenosis, multiple fibroadenomas and about 3% of carcinomas of breast. Regarding etiology, no history of trauma at the onset, no history of fever and pain at the onset, no history of breast malignancy in the mother or sister. Why did you ask that? Because history of carcinoma breast in the mother or sister is one of the high risk factors for the development of carcinoma in the patient. How much is the risk? About 5 to 10 times the risk in general population, especially if the mother had breastfed the patient, and very high risk if BRCA gene mutation is detected. What are the other risk factors in carcinoma of breast? Age above 40 years, unmarried or married but less fertile females, unsuckled breasts, history of fibroadenosis with epithelial hyperplasia, history of carcinoma of breast in mother or sister, and history of carcinoma in the opposite breast. Right, proceed. No history of taking contraceptive pills, no history of recent lactation or breastfeeding. Patient is a multipara with 4 children with the last delivery 15 years back. History of breastfeeding all the children. What difference does breastfeeding make? Unsuckled breasts are more prone to develop fibroadenosis and carcinoma of breast. And which swellings start during lactation? Acute mastitis and abscess, rarely acute lactation carcinoma. Galactosile also starts during lactation. Regarding treatment taken, no history of any definitive treatment for the swelling, no history of any operation or biopsy of the swelling. On examination, start with the local examination. On local examination, first inspection of both breasts together. On inspection in sitting position, the right nipple is at a slightly higher level than the left. There is asymmetry of breasts due to a diffuse bulge in the upper and outer quadrant of right breast. On bending forwards, the right breast falls forward less than the left. What is the significance? The right breast is less free to fall forwards, which may be due to underlying fibrosis or fixity due to malignant infiltration. Fixity to which structure? Fixity to the pectoral fascia. On raising the arms fully above the head, the right nipple rises less than the left, suggesting fixity to the pectoral fascia or muscle. The right nipple rises less than the left. The swelling in the right breast becomes more prominent. Skin over the swelling becomes puckered, and there is no visible swelling in the axilla. Yes, what is this method of examination known as? Auchincloss method of examination of breasts. It states that if the arms are raised fully above the head, the visible signs of carcinoma of breast become more prominent. It also reveals the undersurface of the breasts and the axilla for inspection. On local examination of the affected, that is the right breast, there is a diffuse swelling in the upper and outer quadrant. The nipple is displaced upwards and outwards and is deviated to the left, signifying the displacement being towards the swelling is suggestive of malignancy. Benign swellings displace the nipple away from them. What is the difference between displacement and deviation? Sir, deviation is a change in the direction of the nipple. That is, normally both nipples point slightly downwards and outwards, but if one of the nipples points inwards or outwards, then it is termed as deviated. While displacement is the actual change in the position of the nipple as demonstrated by measurements from the clavicle and from the midline and compared to the normal opposite side. Deviation is an early sign before displacement is seen. The nipple is displaced upwards and outwards and is deviated to the left. It is not prominent, flattened or retracted. There is no discharge, crack or fissure. How did you look for nipple discharge? Firstly, by stroking the breast from the periphery to the center in each quadrant and then squeezing the areola beneath the nipple. Secondly, by inspecting the underclothes covering the breast. In which conditions do you get a retraction of the nipple? Sir, congenital retraction, which is bilateral and present since birth, and acquired retraction, which is of recent onset, unilateral and is clinically significant. For usually it suggests carcinoma. Rarely it may be due to fibrosis of a chronic abscess. What is the mechanism of retraction in these swellings? Congenital retraction is due to failure of evagination of the nipple bud at birth. In carcinoma, it is due to infiltration and shortening of the main milk ducts. And in chronic abscess, fibrosis and retraction of the subareolar tissue causes the indrawing of the nipple. Proceed. The areola is of normal size, no cracks or fissures, no redness, shininess, oozing or destruction. Redness, oozing and destruction of areola. What does that suggest? Sir, either eczema or Paget's disease. And how do you differentiate them? Eczema is a bilateral condition seen in young females, usually during lactation, whereas Paget's disease is unilateral and occurs towards menopause at a later age. Eczema produces itching and vesicles which are absent in Paget's disease, while destruction of the nipple and underlying lump are seen only in Paget's disease. Then local steroid therapy produces quick response in eczema and has no effect on Paget's disease. The skin shows no redness, shininess, edema or engorged veins which are seen in. Sir, redness, shininess and edema are seen in acute mastitis and abscess, while engorged veins in the absence of acute inflammation suggest sarcoma. There is no dimpling, retraction or puckering, no pot-orange appearance, nodules or ulceration. What is pot-orange appearance? It is the characteristic pitted appearance of the skin similar to orange skin due to cutaneous edema. The pits mark the openings of the hair follicles and sweat glands where the skin is firmly attached and cannot swell. It is seen in carcinoma due to blockage of the cutaneous lymphatics. And where do you get ulceration of the skin? In fungating carcinoma of breast. Sometimes rapidly growing soft fibroadenoma or cystosarcoma phylloides may ulcerate due to pressure atrophy of the skin at the point of maximum pressure. How will you clinically differentiate between the two? I will try to pass a probe underneath the skin margin. It will be possible in a benign swelling, but not in a carcinoma where the skin is infiltrated. Right, go ahead. The left breast appears normal. The arms are not swollen. In which condition is an arm swollen with a breast lump? Sir, carcinoma of breast. Why? Due to extensive infiltration of the axillary lymph nodes and lymphatics causing lymphedema of the arm. And if the patient is already under treatment, the cause may be radiotherapy, which can cause extensive fibrosis in the axilla with blockade of lymphatics, or axillary block dissection, which may have caused near total destruction and stripping of the axillary lymphatics with lymphedema. Or it may be venous edema due to post-operative axillary vein thrombosis. Right. On palpation, the left breast is normal. That's right. Always palpate the normal, that is the opposite breast first. Proceed. The right breast shows no local rise of temperature, no tenderness. So no abscess. No acute abscess. A chronic abscess, that is antibioma, may not be warm or tender. There is a single lump palpable with flat hand in the upper and outer quadrant. Wait, why did you specifically mention with a flat hand? Because sometimes a nodular lump is felt when the breast tissue is palpated between fingers, but on palpating with a flat hand there is no lump. This is characteristic of fibroadenosis, normal breast distended with milk, and sometimes normal breast before menstruation. So a single lump is palpable with flat hand in the upper and outer quadrant, 4 by 4 by 3 centimeters in size. Very good. Whenever possible, always mention the size in 3 dimensions. Now suppose this lump was much bigger, say 15 centimeters in diameter. What conditions would you have thought of? Sir, a soft fibroadenoma, cystosarcoma phylloides or Brodie's disease, colloid carcinoma, sarcoma, and if the lump is ill-defined, I will keep in mind benign hypertrophy of breast and filarial elephantiasis of breast. The lump is globular with an irregular surface and ill-defined margin merging into the breast tissue. The consistency is hard throughout the lump, and there is no blood or discharge through the nipple on compressing it. Which lumps have irregular surface and ill-defined margin? Sir, carcinoma of breast and fibroadenosis. And which lumps are well-defined and globular? Fibroadenomas and cysts. What is a cyst? Sir, cyst is a collection of fluid in a cavity lined by epithelium or endothelium. Yes, and which are the cysts found in the breast? Multiple cysts of fibroadenosis, serocystic disease of Brodie, cystic degeneration in a malignant growth, chronic abscess, galactocele, cystic hygroma and hydatid cyst. How is a fibroadenoma to palpation? Firm. And fibroadenosis? India rubber consistency with a diffuse shorty feel. And carcinoma? Hard to stony hard. And which swellings are soft? Cysts, lipomas and abscesses. Proceed. The lump is tethered to the skin but not fixed to it. What is tethering? Tethered means that the skin can be moved independent of the swelling for a limited distance, but the skin dimples at the extremes of movements, or on raising the arm above the head, or on trying to pick up the skin over the tumor. It signifies that the carcinoma has infiltrated into the Cooper's ligaments which are attached to the skin but has not yet infiltrated the skin. Once the infiltration reaches the skin and the lump cannot be moved independent of each other, and the skin cannot be pinched and lifted above the tumor. Then the lump is said to be fixed to the skin. What is the significance of fixity? Sir, fixity to skin is almost diagnostic of carcinoma of breast, but sometimes it may be seen in traumatic fat necrosis and chronic abscesses. Go ahead. The lump is tethered to the skin but not fixed to it. It is fixed to the breast tissue and to the pectoral muscle but not to the chest wall. How did you test the fixity to the breast tissue? With my left hand, I fix the breast tissue around the lump by firmly pressing and stretching apart the thumb and the rest of the fingers on either side of the lump. And then I tried to move the lump within the fixed breast tissue in all directions. The lump was fixed. Then I asked the patient to keep her hand against the side of the hip of the same side and tested the mobility of the lump in the direction of the pectoral muscle fibers and at right angles to them. Then I asked her to press the hand forcefully against the hip so as to contract the pectoralis major, and then tested the mobility again. Restriction of mobility indicates that the swelling is fixed to the pectoralis major muscle or fascia. But since the swelling is mobile over the relaxed muscle, it is not fixed to the chest wall. Right. And if the lump is situated in the outer and lower quadrant, it will overlie serratus anterior, the fixity to which should also be tested. How will you test it? By asking the patient to stand 2 feet away from a wall and push against the wall with outstretched hand of the affected side. Then I will look for any restriction of mobility. Proceed. On examination of the right axilla, a single mobile hard lymph node 3 by 2 centimeters in size is palpable in the medial chain. No other lymph nodes are palpable in both axillae and neck. Which groups of lymph nodes did you look for in the axilla and how did you palpate for them? I looked for 5 main groups: apical, central, pectoral, brachial and subscapular. Apical group at the apex of the axilla, medially placed central group along the chest wall, anteriorly placed pectoral group under the pectoralis muscle, laterally placed brachial group along the brachial vessels, and posteriorly placed subscapular group under the posterior axillary fold. I started the palpation of the right axilla with shoulder adducted and forearm flexed, resting over my forearm using the left hand. I steadied the patient with my right hand over her opposite shoulder and palpated with my left hand for the central group by sliding the finger against the chest wall deep into the axilla. Then by pushing the fingers as high as possible, I palpated for the apical group. Then I turned my hand forwards to direct the palm forwards under the anterior axillary fold and palpated the pectoral group against the right hand placed in front of the anterior axillary fold. Now I inserted my right hand into the axilla and palpated for the brachial group against the humerus. Then, standing behind the patient, I palpated for the subscapular group beneath the posterior axillary fold. I then palpated the deltopectoral groove just below the clavicle for deltopectoral nodes, and then for supraclavicular nodes of both sides by standing behind the patient and dipping the fingers behind the middle third of the clavicle. Then I palpated the opposite axilla in a similar manner. Good. Now tell me only the specific points in systemic examination that you have looked for and your diagnosis. Sir, the chest is normal, no evidence of consolidation, collapse or pleural effusion. The spine shows no tenderness, no restriction of movements and straight leg raising test is normal. Liver is not palpable. No evidence of free fluid in the abdomen. I would like to do PV and perrectal examination for pelvic deposits. My diagnosis is malignant tumor of upper and outer quadrant of right breast, probably carcinoma, stage 3 of Manchester classification. Can you explain the Manchester staging? It is a 4-stage classification based on clinical examination. Stage 1, where the growth is confined to the breast, no palpable lymph nodes, and skin involvement, if any, is directly over and in continuity with the tumor and is less than the size of the tumor. Stage 2, a similar situation with palpable mobile lymph nodes in the axilla of the same side. Stage 3, when skin involvement, that is fixation or peau d'orange, is larger than the tumor, presence of skin ulceration, fixity to pectoral fascia and muscle, and fixed axillary lymph nodes of the same side. Stage 4, when the lump is fixed to the chest wall, or lymph nodes of the supraclavicular group or in the opposite axilla are involved, distant metastasis, satellite nodules in the skin, or affection of the opposite breast. Yes, what is the difference between the staging and grading of a malignancy? Sir, staging is a measure of invasiveness and spread, while grading is a measure of cellular alteration, that is anaplasia. Right, what will you do for this patient? Firstly, I will investigate her. Complete hemogram, blood sugar and HbA1c, blood urea, serum creatinine and liver function tests, HIV, HBV and HCV, X-ray chest, echo and ECG, and then the specific investigations. Mammography for histopathological confirmation and ER status, FNAC, that is fine needle aspiration biopsy, and if FNAC is inconclusive, then core biopsy or wedge biopsy. Then for metastasis, I will check CT of chest, bone scan, X-ray and MRI of spine if indicated, and ultrasound of the liver and abdomen. Yes, what is the role of mammography? Sir, mammography will show a pleomorphic solid mass with speculation and irregular age. It may show microcalcifications and distortion of normal breast architecture. It helps in differentiating benign from malignant lesions when clinical diagnosis is uncertain. In this patient, it will also help to diagnose or rule out multicentric lesion. Mammography is most useful in screening of patients in high-risk category for early detection of malignancy, especially in fat breasts where small lesions are difficult to palpate. Now, what will you do for this patient? Since the lump is more than 2 cm in size, fixed to the pectoral fascia, with palpable mobile axillary lymph node, that is stage 3 or locally advanced stage, I will advise total mastectomy with axillary dissection, followed by radiotherapy, and then chemo and hormonal therapy as indicated with regular follow-up. Why not radical mastectomy? Because in stage 3 and 4, the carcinoma has already spread beyond the scope of complete cure by surgery. Hence, radical operation is not justifiable. So, what is your plan of treatment according to the stages? If the patient has early localized growth less than 5 cm in size, I will advise modified radical mastectomy, which will be curative. What are the structures removed in modified radical mastectomy? Entire breast tissue with skin ellipse including nipple, areola and the skin over the lump. All the axillary tissue below and medial to the axillary vein till the apex and chest wall are bared of all fibrofatty lymphatic tissue. However, nerves to latissimus dorsi and serratus anterior are carefully preserved. How does it differ from the original radical mastectomy? Sir, in original Halsted radical mastectomy, pectoralis minor and sternocostal portion of pectoralis major were also removed, which caused loss of axillary fold, affected the shoulder function, and caused lymphedema of arm in many patients. In Patty's mastectomy, only pectoralis minor was removed for better clearance of the axilla and lymphatic tissue. What else is removed in Halsted operation? Aponeurosis and superficial fibers of serratus anterior, laterally latissimus dorsi and subscapularis, and anteriorly upper end of internal oblique. Okay, proceed. If the patient has early localized growth, I will advise modified radical mastectomy. But if the lump is single, less than 2 cm in size, and well differentiated on histology, then I will consider breast conservative surgery, that is, removal of the lump with 1 cm clear border from all sides, followed by sentinel node biopsy and post-operative radiotherapy to the breast. If on frozen section the sentinel node is positive for malignancy, then I will proceed with axillary dissection. Will you give radiotherapy to breast in every case? Yes sir, it is a must if breast conservative surgery is performed to prevent recurrence in the remaining breast tissue. Not needed after radical mastectomy if surgical margins are clear. And what about axilla? If after histology axillary lymph nodes show metastasis, then I will advise radiotherapy to the axilla also. And if more than 4 nodes are positive, then I will irradiate the supraclavicular and internal mammary nodes also. This will be followed by systemic therapy consisting of chemotherapy and hormonal therapy if the growth is receptor positive. If the patient is fit to receive chemotherapy, I will first administer chemotherapy. The gold standard is 5-fluorouracil, adriamycin and cyclophosphamide, or 5-fluorouracil, methotrexate and cyclophosphamide every week for 6 cycles. If the growth is ER positive or PR positive or HER2 positive, then I will give anti-estrogen drug like letrozole or tamoxifen for next 5 years. And if the growth is only HER2 positive, then it will respond better to monoclonal antibody treatment with trastuzumab for 1 year. And if the growth is in stage 2B or 3, if the carcinoma is in a locally advanced stage where pectoral muscle or chest wall or a large area of skin is involved, but there are no distant metastases, I will first confirm the diagnosis and receptor status by TrueCut or core biopsy. Then I will assess whether the growth is surgically resectable. If it is completely resectable and skin closure is possible, then I will surgically remove the growth as a palliative simple mastectomy and follow up with chemotherapy and radiotherapy. If it is not possible to resect the growth completely, I will first give full course of neoadjuvant, that is primary chemotherapy. After chemotherapy, if the growth becomes smaller and resectable, I will proceed with surgery. If not, then I will follow it with radiotherapy only. Good, that's enough. Thank you, sir.